before another tomato goes into the ground this spring. Let me show you two things I wish I had been putting in every planting hole years before I started. Not bought things, not bags from the garden center shelf. Two things that come out of almost every kitchen and fireplace in the country and go into the trash without a second thought. I ran the same tomato bed for 3 springs before I understood this. And the thing, I thought I was doing everything right. That was the problem. First year, real improvement. Second year, still better than before. Third spring, I crouch at the end of that row in late May, same bed, same routine, everything exactly right, and the improvement had stopped. Not gone backwards. Just stopped. Like the engine had run out of something. When everything you are doing is right and the results have plateaued, the answer is not to do more of the same thing. Something is missing.
The engine was running. The raw materials had run out.
Two things. Both sitting in almost every home in the country. Coffee grounds from the morning cup. And wood ash from the winter fire. I'm Eli Uter. I farm a small mixed place called Maple Creek Farm, and I've been working on that tomato bed going on 15 years now. Most of what I figured out about soil I learned by watching what happened when I got it wrong. I had been running half a system without knowing it.
Coffee grounds build the biology, the bacteria, the earthworms, the living network that does the actual work of feeding a plant. But biology needs raw materials to work with. The wood ash carries those minerals. Two things, two completely different jobs. Together, they do something neither one does alone.
Today I'm going to show you exactly how each one works, why they belong in the hole together before a single root touches the ground, the method that makes wood ash safe, and the 3 mistakes that ruin everything.
April of year 3. I'm pressing my thumb into that soil. Everything that's supposed to be there is there. Earthworms at the top inch, that alive smell, something working underground. The color had changed noticeably over 2 seasons, and still, the harvest had stopped improving. The health of the soil and the yield of the harvest had stopped tracking each other. Here's the first thing most gardeners have backwards about coffee grounds. I noticed the soil color and the earthworm count were genuinely better. Something was working, and I compared the grounds-treated beds against the ones I hadn't touched. The biology was measurably more active. What I hadn't noticed was what the grounds were not supplying. After brewing, spent grounds are pH neutral, between 6.5 and 6.8. Most people believe they're acidic. They are not. What they are, nitrogen-rich organic matter, around 2% by content. But the nitrogen doesn't come out in a rush. It has to be unlocked by bacteria first, decomposed slowly, released when the plant can use it. That is the whole job of the grounds. Hire the crew, feed the crew, let the crew build the kitchen.
There's one caveat I need to name, and the video you may have seen about this skipped it.
When coffee grounds are applied in quantity directly to soil, the microbes temporarily tie up available nitrogen while they get started on the carbon content. For a few weeks, the available nitrogen actually drops before it rises. That is why the amount going into the planting hole is deliberately small. And it is why the soil barrier between the grounds and the seedling's first roots is not optional. Not just because of burning, but because of that temporary drawdown. The system needs time to wake up before it can feed. The grounds are not feeding the plant. They are feeding the bacteria that feed the worms that build the soil that feeds the plant.
I spent 3 years doing this right and still hit the ceiling. 3 years I cannot get back.
The ceiling I hit in year 3 was not a biology problem. The crew was there. The crew was running. The raw materials had run out. I watched a neighbor's tomato grow yellow a week after he put dry ash directly in the planting hole. He had heard ash was good for tomatoes. Feeder roots burned, leaves yellowing at the edges. It looked like herbicide damage. I watched from across the fence and thought, too much trouble. I wrote ash off for 2 years. I should have been looking at the method, not the ingredient. Here is what I found when I finally looked more carefully at what was in that bucket. A mature oak tree pulls calcium, potassium, and trace minerals from deep underground for 50, 60, 80 years. The timber burns. The carbon goes up in smoke. But the minerals do not burn, they concentrate. Think of it like a mineral bank the tree spent its whole life making deposits into. The fire closes the account, the ash is the withdrawal. The calcium in wood ash, over 20% by content, is the same compound eggshells are made of. It builds cell walls. It prevents the sunken dark patch at the bottom of a tomato that most gardeners call blossom end rot. The potassium, 4 to 10%, drives flowering and fruit. My grandfather put gray powder into his compost pile every season for as long as I can remember. No explanation. Just carried the bucket out and tipped it in, I asked once. He looked at me like I'd asked why the sun comes up. That is what you do with the fireplace ash. I put it away as one of those things older farmers did because older farmers did them. I didn't understand what was in that bucket until I needed to. Dry wood ash is highly alkaline. The moment it contacts moisture and soil, pH spikes immediately. Feeder roots burn on contact. Phosphorus, manganese, and iron lock up, the leaves yellow because the plant cannot access them anymore. Most gardeners who try ash once and swear it off, that is what they experienced. Not the ingredient failing, the delivery method failing. When handling dry ash, gloves, eye protection, dust mask. Dry ash is caustic. Treat it carefully. Before using wood ash in any form, check your soil pH. If your soil is already at 7 or above, adding wood ash makes things worse. The calcium and potassium lock up in alkaline soil and become unavailable. Test first. A basic soil test costs under $10. That is the step the fertilizer bag never mentions. Blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, potatoes. Keep wood ash entirely away from these plants, not reduced, away. Potatoes are especially sensitive. Higher pH invites scab. Only clean natural hardwood in the ash bucket. Oak, maple, hickory, fruitwoods. Never painted lumber, never pressure-treated wood, never charcoal briquettes or treated pallets. If you cannot confirm the source, do not use the ash. The ingredient was never wrong. The delivery method was. The method that changes everything is the ash water extract. I left the first batch sitting on the porch for 4 days and walked past it twice a day not knowing if it was doing anything. Kept thinking, this is probably nothing. Day 4, I lifted the lid. The water had turned a pale amber. Clear on top, sediment settled below. Should have trusted my grandfather sooner. 1 cup of sifted dry hardwood ash per gallon of water, in a 5-gallon plastic bucket, not metal. Stir thoroughly with a wooden stick. Cover loosely. Leave undisturbed 3 to 4 days. Result, amber liquid on top, fine sediment below. Then 1 to 2 cups of that amber extract into a 2-gallon watering can, the rest filled with plain water. The color should go nearly clear before it touches soil. That dilution is the safety mechanism. If your tap water has added chlorine, let it sit uncovered for 24 hours before using it in the extraction. Chlorine inhibits the soil biology you are trying to feed. 1 day, no cost. Apply as a soil drench around the root zone, not on leaves. Here is why both of them together removes the sealing that either one alone cannot. I thought adding both would give me more of both benefits. Like 2 things adding together. That is not what happened. The coffee grounds build the biological network, bacteria multiplying, earthworms establishing the full nutrient cycling crew running through the soil. After a season of grounds, that crew is present and functioning. But it is operating in a mineral-poor environment. The nitrogen cycle is running, the calcium and potassium are not there to complete the work. The wood ash extract delivers calcium and potassium into the network the grounds just built. Every worm casting becomes nutritionally complete. Every bacterial colony now has the structural minerals to do the full job. The sealing disappears not because you added more of something, because you completed the system. Coffee grounds build the workers. Wood ash gives them something to build with. Think of it like a construction crew. The grounds hire the crew and keep them fed. The ash delivers the lumber. A well-fed crew with no lumber builds nothing. A pile of lumber with no crew goes nowhere. Both of them together, that is a building season. Half the system gets half the result. The whole system has no ceiling. Before the next transplant goes in, Here is the 60 seconds that separates a season of hoping from a season of building. At the bottom of the planting hole, a few tablespoons of spent coffee grounds mixed lightly with the native dirt at the bottom. Then either a teaspoon of sifted dry hardwood ash mixed into that base layer, or 1 cup of the heavily diluted amber extract poured in and allowed to soak for 5 minutes. Cover the grounds and ash with 1 to 2 inches of plain native soil before you set the plant. The barrier gives the system time to wake up before the roots arrive. Set the transplant. Backfill. Firm gently. The mistake most people make on the first try: dry ash dumped directly in the hole, or the extract used undiluted. The ingredient was never wrong. The delivery was: no ash, crushed eggshells for calcium, dried banana peels for potassium, gypsum for calcium without pH effect. No coffee grounds at home? Tea leaves work similarly. Local coffee shops often give away spent grounds daily. Coffee grounds, a thin layer scratched lightly into the top inch of soil around the plant, weekly. Not a thick crust, broken up each time. Ash extract to soil drench every 2 weeks. More frequently when the plant sets flowers. Potassium demand surges at flowering. Mistake 2 is about the plants this system does not apply to. Blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, potatoes, wood ash and the ash extract are entirely off the table. Not reduced, off the table. Containers and raised beds, scale down. A teaspoon of grounds at the base, a 1/4 cup of the diluted extract weekly. Sandy soil, especially valuable here. Soil pH at 7 or above, skip the ash entirely. Test first. The third mistake is the one I see most often, because it doesn't happen early. It happens in year 3, right when things start going well. The compounding is starting to accelerate. The soil is visibly darker. The earthworm population is established. The harvest is genuinely better than it was. And then, the ash bucket runs low. It is late in the season. The decision gets made casually to run just the grounds for a while, just until the next fire. It will be fine. The compounding stops the moment 1/2 goes missing. Not dramatically, just stops. The ceiling comes back quietly, and the gardener does not know why the improvement stalled. The third mistake happens in year 3, when everything is going well. That is when gardeners stop doing both. Every mistake on this list is some version of the same thing, stopping one ingredient. Half the system. The results confirm it every time. Year 3, not the year I figured this out, but the year after I started running both ingredients together from the start. I ran a side-by-side that summer. 1/2 of the bed, the full system, both ingredients all season. The other half coffee grounds only. By July, the difference was visible from the end of the row. By September, measurably different harvest. I have not needed to run the comparison again. What still surprises me is how long the change takes to feel dramatic. The first year is modest, real, but modest. Year 2, I notice more than year 1. Year 3 is when I stood at the end of the bed in April and thought, the soil is doing this now, not me. I pressed my thumb in, and it gave differently than it did 3 years earlier. Darker, softer, something alive in there. That was not something I expected to feel in soil. Of everything I have done for that tomato bed over 15 years, the grounds, the ash, the compost, the cover crops, this combination is the one I would keep if I could only keep one. Not because it is the most dramatic, because it compounds. It keeps getting better. That bed I crouched at the end of in May of year 3, the one that had stopped improving, I am looking at it now in September. The basket that used to come in at half capacity. The soil darker in October than it was in March. Not because I added more of anything. Because the system is running. Funny thing is, I don't save the coffee grounds myself anymore. My neighbors bring them over now. Think they're doing me a favor. Drop them off with this look like they're delivering something valuable. Truth is, they're right. They just don't know why yet. A garden that gets better every year without a bag from the garden center is not a dream. It is what happens when you run the whole system, not half of it. The grounds from the morning cup, The ash from the winter fire. Two things that go in the trash. One system that keeps building, season after season, as long as you stay with it. Subscribe so you are there when it comes out.